make sure that I have your name correct, sir. Mr. Homan, sir. What type of policy do you envision that will help children who are fleeing harm's way with their parents usually or some significant person in their lives have the opportunity to be in a safe, secure, wholesome environment?
Well, first of all, if I can, your question about raising your hands, if you would have said if I support zero tolerance, I would have raised my hand. Not family separation, zero tolerance. You seem to confuse those two issues.
Okay, well, if you would, I'm going to ask that you kindly address my question, but since you raised zero tolerance, I'm not sure what you mean by zero tolerance. Are you saying zero tolerance, no one ever coming to the United States? Is that your zero tolerance policy?
No, you're referring to family separations that have happened under numerous presidents, not just this president.
So,
but zero tolerance, what you're referring to is family separations, zero tolerance that was put in place by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. It was zero tolerance to prosecute those who knowingly, intentionally violate our laws.
so and supporting that policy, you would support family separation then?
Whenever someone gets arrested for a crime, they get booked into a jail, their child can't go with them. Just like if I got arrested tonight, my child couldn't go with me. So it's not about family separation.
Well, the interesting thing about your argument is that these people committed no crimes.
You enter the United States illegally, it's a crime. It's 8 U.S.C.
No, no,
8 United States Code 1325. It's a crime to enter the United States illegally.
It is not a crime, it's a civil offense.
No, sir, it is not. It's a violation of Criminal Code, Title 8, United States Code 1325, illegal entry in the United States. First offense is a misdemeanor, second offense, if you've been ordered, removed, and returned, is a felony.
I agree with that. I don't differ with you on that point.
Congress left stunned as Tom Homan absolutely dismantled furious Democrats with cold, hard facts, and suddenly the hearing got quieter than a gym membership in February. Seriously, lawmakers came ready for an emotional showdown, but Homan showed up with federal law, border statistics, and decades of experience. And wow, the room changed fast.
You would then separate the children.
If you have no option, if someone's being prosecuted and getting sent to U.S. Marshal's custody or to the local jail, the child can't go with them. Happens to U.S. families every day across the country. I think what we're seeing today could have been prevented if Congress was to close the loopholes we've asked them to close. I mean, we proved back in FY 14 and 15 when I worked for Secretary Jay Johnson, who I respect greatly. You know, he let us build family detention, to hold family units in a family residential center long enough to see a judge, and it took about 40, 45 days. And most of them, 90%, lost their cases, and we sent them home. And the numbers went down. It worked. So we're asking Congress, look, we've already proved this worked under the Obama administration. How come we're not doing it now? You know, so I think Congress needs to fix this loophole. Let us detain families. If they're really escaping fear and persecution and death, I don't see a problem in being in a family residential center with medical care, pediatricians, child psychologists on staff, 3 squares a day, 6 sets of new clothes, access to lawyers, access to families. These are open air campus facilities. If it saves a life, and that's what I've been testifying the last 4 times. This isn't just about securing our border. This isn't just about enforcing laws, it's about saving lives. It's about 31% of women being raped. If we close these loopholes, we're going to save women from being sexually assaulted. We're going to save children from dying, and we're going to stop bankrolling criminal cartels who are making millions of dollars a day because of the laziness of this country not to fix the loopholes.
Is there anything you'd like to respond to what you've heard today?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to Acting Chairman Jay Paul and your comment about the Trump administration moving money around for more detention beds. I'd like to remind you, under the Obama administration, we did that most of the years he was president. We moved money around DHS. It's called reprogramming. We did that under the Obama administration. I don't remember any hearings on that. And also, I'd like to remind you that under the Obama administration, I mean, you're quick to point out that the cages were built under Obama administration. I was there. Family detention, we had 100 family beds under Obama administration. We built 3,000 more. So when there was a surge in FY 14 and FY 15 on the border, Congress was quick to give all the money we needed to build detention facilities, get transportation contracts. We reprogrammed money out of the majority of the years he was president. That was fine. Under Obama administration, FY 12, we removed 409,000 people, half of what was removed last year. There was no hearings on that. So this is about transparency. Let's be factual about it.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Since you did address some comments at me, I'll just say that I didn't like it under the Obama administration either. In fact,
But be honest with the American people.
Excuse
You
me,
can't point out faults in the Trump administration when it happened
Mr.
under the Obama
Homan.
administration. That's dishonesty. It's pathetic and it's sad.
Mr. Homan, I control the time, and I am the chairwoman of the committee. Thank you for respecting that. I didn't like it under the Obama administration, and I'll remind you, Mr. Homan, that you also testified before Congress in support of the Obama's Priorities Enforcement Program before the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 19th, 2016, which had a very different approach.
Well,
Can I
respond to that? Can I respond to that?
No.
Of course
you may
not.
And I want to give you some time, but I do want to ask one quick question, and I want to make one quick statement. I find it very offensive that anybody would compare any federal employee, frankly, to someone who, the Gestapo or running Nazi concentration camps. That is very offensive. I have 15 seconds and I yield it to you.
Thank you for saying that. I wish somebody in Democratic leadership would say that out loud. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan,
Look,
please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have approved an agreement
This is a circus.
between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one witness, one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for
excuse
me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
All right, so here's what happened. Congressman Al Green started off by asking Homan what kind of policies should exist to protect children fleeing dangerous situations with their families. Fair question, right? But Homan immediately stepped in and clarified something he felt was being intentionally blurred together. Zero tolerance and family separation are not the same thing. And that's where the temperature in the room started rising. Homan explained that he supported zero tolerance meant enforcing immigration law against illegal entry into the United States. Specifically, he cited federal law, Title 8 U.S. Code, Section 1325, which classifies unlawful entry as a crime. Now, Green pushed back hard. He argued that these migrants hadn't committed crimes the way people often think of criminal activity. But Homan stayed firm and basically said, no, illegal entry is still a violation of federal law, whether people like the wording or not. And honestly, that's when the hearing stopped being emotional and became deeply political and legal at the same time. Because now the debate wasn't just about immigration anymore. It became a bigger argument about whether laws should actually be enforced consistently. Here's where things got really interesting. Homan made a comparison that clearly frustrated some lawmakers, but it was hard to ignore logically. He said when American citizens are arrested and jailed, their children don't go into jail with them either.
Now, whether people agree with that comparison or not, his point was basically this. Separation happens because of prosecution and detention procedures, not because agents randomly decide to split families apart. And wow, you could tell that answer landed heavily in the room. Then Homan brought up something that made the hearing even more uncomfortable for Democrats, the Barack Obama administration. He pointed out that family detention centers expanded under Obama during the 2014 and 2015 border surge. According to Homan, those facilities processed asylum claims quickly and helped reduce illegal crossings. Now, this is where the hypocrisy argument started heating up, because Homan's basic message was, if these enforcement methods were acceptable under one administration, why are they suddenly portrayed as evil under another? Fair question. And look, people can disagree about immigration policy all day long, but Americans notice inconsistency. They notice when politicians suddenly discover outrage depending on who's sitting in the White House. Homan also argued that weak border enforcement helps criminal cartels profit from human trafficking and migrant smuggling. He brought up violence against migrant women and children, saying chaotic borders often create more suffering, not less. That part changed the tone of the hearing completely, because regardless of political ideology, nobody wants cartels getting richer while vulnerable people are being exploited. And honestly, this is where the broader constitutional argument comes in. A country that refuses to enforce its own laws consistently eventually creates selective enforcement, and selective enforcement usually means politics starts deciding who gets punished and who doesn't. That's dangerous territory for any constitutional republic. Also, quick side note here, Congress acting shocked about border chaos after decades of refusing to fix immigration loopholes is a little like a guy ignoring his car's check engine light for 12 years and then acting betrayed when the engine explodes. And if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, hit subscribe right now because Congress Showdown covers these political clashes without all the polished media spin. So after all the shouting, interruptions, and political grandstanding, here's the funniest part. Congress spent years refusing to fix the border, then acted completely shocked when the borders stayed broken. Seriously? Washington might be the only place where people ignore a leaking pipe for decades, hold emergency hearings about the flood, and then blame the wrench. Hit like, subscribe to Congress Showdown.